at least to this point, Knicks one game away from reaching the NBA Finals. They are absolutely rolling since having not lost a game since April 23rd. Since then, they've won 10 straight games, the 10th team in playoff history to win 10 straight within a single playoff run. During the win streak, the Knicks have dominated. New York has outscored its opponents by a whopping 225 points, the best margin by any team in a 10-game span all time, regular or postseason. And the Knicks have never had multiple series sweeps in the same postseason. But if they win tonight, they will accomplish just that. Knicks might be up 3-0 in this series, but don't tell Cavs coach Kenny Atkinson. Here's what he said yesterday at the podium with something that made us stop and say, I'm sorry, what?
Analytically, I think we've won the I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected. I don't know if you guys follow that. There's like an expected score, and we won 2 out of the 3. And I know you're looking confused, but there is really, if you believe in process and all that, take that layer. I know I don't throw that on them. I see it for myself. We have this feeling, then I can go to our analytical table and be like, man, we are. And I think last night it was, the expected score was like 1 point or 2. Us shooting way below expected, them shooting way over. And I know no one wants to hear that. I think you guys like hearing it. I know, general public, no one wants to hear it. Everyone's outcome based, and sure, I get that too.
Oh, trust me, we love hearing it. To paraphrase here, Alan, and get your reaction, he's basically saying that the series is 3-0, but the numbers dictate that it shouldn't be.
He's saying the math ain't mathin', and really that's, like, I know Kenny Atkinson is a Long Island guy like myself, and he's a fierce competitor throughout his playing career and into his coaching career, and that's not a competitive response. And it's kind of telling me he's trying to find something for his team to believe in, down 3-0, obviously. Because if you see the way they finished that game in Game 3 at home, just watch this one play in particular. Here's Jalen Brunson going through a couple of screens. Watch Jared Allen. Did the controller lose power? Like, he just stops playing. As a coach, you can't accept that. You look at your players like, what was that? And we've seen the Knicks make teams quit before. The Sixers quit in their closeout Game 4. The Hawks quit in their closeout Game 6. The Knicks won their closeout games by 30 or more points. So they're making teams quit. And so what Kenny Atkinson can't have happen is his team do the same thing and give up. That play shows that. So I think he's trying to find something for his players to believe in.
Trying to pull something out.
Something.
Wendy, what did you make of it?
Well, Kenny Atkinson is right about one thing. The playoffs are outcome-based. That's one thing he said at the end there. I mean, we can all agree on that. I understand what he's saying, and I'm sure he can prove it with statistics. But what the statistics and the analytics can't account for is that the Cavs have dead legs. They've played 4 more games in the postseason than the Knicks. The Knicks have, meticulously worn them down in this series, and the Cavs' legs are shot. And the Knicks' legs are way fresher, and that blows up the analytics. And I think that, he's said a few things in this series trying to defend his players. He's coming from a spot of trying to defend his players. Right. For example, he said James Harden's not actually that bad of a defender. It was something else. But we can all see that James Harden's getting, cooked on the perimeter in this series. So I understand what he's doing. I respect what he's doing. I think it's absolutely an impossible sell at this point in the proceedings.
I would say, you're right. I would say this, the fact that he's going out in front of the media and taking it all on him to deflect it from his players, I think is admirable from a coach-player locker room standpoint. But Monica, here's something that I don't think we're talking about enough. The skepticism when the Knicks moved on from Thibodeau after bringing him to a place they hadn't been in 20-plus years. They bring in Mike Brown, basically saying, look, Eastern Conference Finals aren't good enough. We just fired the guy who got us there. Get us beyond that. Is he getting the credit he deserves for the pressure that he walked into?
Man, I don't know that you get credit for knowing what you walked into in general, Barry, but I think that's a great question, right? Like, when Mike Brown came in, he talked about wanting to be collaborative. And he talked about calling upon the 15th guy on the roster just to make sure that he's ready. And so the two things that stand out to me that have been different from the previous regime, one is, in fact, that it is a collaborative regime. As you go through this postseason, various assistant coaches, Mike has been mindful to give credit at the podium in terms of their adjustments, whether it be offense or defense. Chris Jant, Darren Erman, like all those guys' names have come up. But then, two, he is far more willing, and it has been much to the benefit of this roster. In fact, they've been able to flaunt their depth in a way that we really had not seen over the past couple of years, despite this being a consecutive trip back to an Eastern Conference Finals. And so I do think he deserves credit. Now, I will say this, though, and I know history is certainly on their side at 3-0. It's not done yet. And as we look at what's happening in the Western Conference, you can't help but wonder what could happen once this team, if this team gets to the finals.
And to that end, the difference, we were talking about the differences during the commercial break between this year's Knicks team and last year's. Share that with me. What do you think it is?
Well, the first thing, let's remind everybody that the last time the Knicks lost a playoff game was April 23rd. It's May 25th, everybody. I mean, it's over a month since they've lost a game. That is not something that you obviously see every day. And it's certainly May, usually when the Knicks aren't losing, it means that they're probably not even in the playoffs. They're trying to win lotteries in the old days. And now, Jalen Brunson, in his era, this has changed the standard. And I do think it starts with him. It starts with the fact that you have a group of veteran players in their prime who are all high IQ players. And they've all bought into the idea of the collaborative. That's why they made the coaching change, because they wanted a coach who would be more collaborative with his players. And so this season has been an evolution of tinkering with an offense and tinkering with a defense, and the timing is just right that it all kind of has clicked at the best time of year to click in the postseason.
Wendy, final word, expected outcome tonight in Cleveland is what?
I don't know. I got to ask Kenny Atkinson for the printout, but I think Jalen Brunson has a pretty big thumbprint on this series more than anything. But I'll just say I've known Mike Brown for 21 years. Okay, he's coached under Greg Popovich. He's coached under Rick Carlisle. He's coached under Steve Kerr. He's been LeBron James' head coach. He's been Kobe Bryant's head coach. He's been Steph Curry's head coach. He's coached the Nigerian national team and taken them to the Olympics. This man's resume is as diverse and varied as anybody's in the history of the sport. And now he's on the verge of doing something that the Knicks haven't done in decades. And so he knows how to win, and he's failed. He would be the first to admit he's failed with some of these guys too. But he's learned how to win and incorporate so many different things in his career. I would love to read his book someday.
It'll be a good book, because you're right. It's a storied career. We'll have
Wendy could write it.
Yeah, Wendy could be the ghostwriter.
That's right.
Said he would want credit for it. We'll have Game 4 between the Knicks and Cavs tonight, 8 Eastern on ESPN. Tied at 2 apiece. Time to unpack this from several different angles. Wendy, I want to start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from what we saw last night?
Yeah, they played with an appropriate level of force from a team whose season was under threat. It wasn't an elimination game, but you go down 3-1 going on the road, you're cooked. And that's the way that they played. And I'm going to say going forward in this series, the alarm bells should be going off a little bit for the Thunder, because this was the first game they played in the playoffs without A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams. And boy, did it make a difference in their offensive creation. It's one thing when you're missing one. When you're missing two, it puts so much stress on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to create. And then you look at the other end, Victor Wembanyama with the dunks. I just want to point out, obviously, he does more than just dunk the basketball, okay? But in Game 1, he had 6 dunks, all right? In Games 2 and 3 combined, he had 2 dunks. He had 1 in each game. Last night, you could tell the force he was playing with. 4 dunks in that game. He had a couple other alley-oop layups. The force that he played with definitely set the tone for his team.
Yeah, and look, Al, it's one of those situations in a response. Wendy hit on it there perfectly. You can't go back on the road 3-1. It was a must-win for the Spurs, and Wemby and his team responded. What did you make of their response?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and I use that phrase again, the competitive response, which is what Mitch Johnson, that's the phrase he used when he talked about his team's performance. And it also shows you, again, what we've learned about Victor Wembanyama is that, yes, he is a precocious neophyte, but he is somebody that is already